all these women that want me to mentor them, they want to go out for coffee. That's not how you get mentored in my life. If you want to be mentored in my life, you have to come and serve with me. You might come and serve with me in my home. That's right. In my home, or you're going to join the ministry where I'm sharing, because in order for you to really absorb what you think you want to get from me, you have to absorb it from me where I'm serving. This idea that serving gets me somewhere, in reverse, it could even be the same. Okay, well, I'm supposed to serve, and so what does service look like? And service is so small often. It's small things that maybe only you and the Lord actually know about. Things that you don't get applauded on the back for, because even in the culture of being a believer and having other people around you who are believers, there's an applaud for service. So at the end of the day, Jesus said that he wanted to be involved in what his Father was doing. And that's the question that I have to ask myself. That's the question we have to ask ourselves. What is God doing, and how do I get involved with that? And if no one else besides my Father knows that I got involved with what he was doing, then that has to be okay. Because I think, again, even in reverse, okay, now I'm going to make an attempt to serve, because, I want to make sure that I'm not getting too big for my britches. Okay, but what are we doing to send off serve signals? Like, I served, you see this all the time with people, but not just in ministry, just philanthropists, to be able to say how much I gave of my resources. But people get a good pat on the back for doing good deeds. And really, who are you doing it for? And if no one ever knows, is that enough, And is it enough to know that I did what I was supposed to do today? We have to tell ourselves this when our children are small, and we have to say, this is the service that I'm rendering to my family in this season. We have to tell ourselves that when our children are large, because you're doing things that by now they should know to be appreciative of, and they're not. We do these things for aging parents. I think about all the caregivers that are watching, where you're showing up and serving maybe your parents, and they're not thankful that you're putting your life on hold to serve them. This goes all the way around and in every season. And I think the question that I have to ask myself, and that we all need to ask ourselves, is if God is the only one who knows, because I was doing and willing to be a part of what he was doing, is that applause enough?
Right.
And honestly, if the answer is no, then that's the quieter you should be. That's a signal that if I really wanted someone to know that I did it, then that's a signal to tell fewer, if anyone. Service is so personal, but it's a wonderful personal act of worship and service to the God who did a lot of things that only as we become sanctified and grow in grace that we realize how grace extends, how far it extends, and how far he has served us by being there for us. We only get to know that greater and more as we grow in him, and some things are just not supposed to be known.
Chrystal, and that's interesting that you're saying that, because it makes me feel like it's going to be harder and harder for each generation coming up after us, because this world that's so centered around social media, which has great benefits. It's great. It's fun, and it can also be beneficial. But this idea that everything I do, I post. Everything I do, I make a thing about, and I'm looking for response about what it is that I did, whether it's just in a like or comments or that little bit of appreciation that we've, kind of warms our heart that people notice we did it. Well, my sons, your sons, our children, they're growing up in this time period where everything about everybody's life is done for a photo op to be posted, and it's just a regular part of life. So how do we help younger people who they've only known a life with social media? They were born in this technological age. They've only known it this way. How do we cultivate in them an appreciation for that quiet service and doing it as unto the Lord, when all they've ever known is posting about everything that I do in my life?
Well, I think about the disciples following Jesus. So many of the things that they learned that took them a while to learn is because they were walking with him and seeing him do the things that he needed to model for them. They had to watch him do it over and over and over again. You know, he was like, have you yet been with me this long and you still don't get it? So I think that's where discipleship comes in. That's where mentoring comes in. That's where you need older women in your life or women who are further along than you in the faith. That's where we show our children. You know, there's a place in our home where when you're in the home, this is where your devices are at. Now I have to put my device too there. And I can say, well, I'm working, you know, but just to say there's life that we live and the devices are put away, or that you're experiencing something together. Maybe it's vacation, maybe it's a drive, and you don't take the picture that you're showing them. Because really what we're talking about in that regard is just practicing presence and being instead of doing for applause. Yeah. And so I think the more that we can slow down for our children's sake, the more that we can be still, the more that we are experiencing opportunities and not, that's how we're saying we create room to serve. And that even goes back to the point about service. The best place for my children to learn, or maybe other women to even learn, I'll never forget I read a woman who was talking about mentoring young women, and she said, all these women that want me to mentor them, they want to go out for coffee. That's not how you get mentored in my life. If you want to be mentored in my life, you have to come and serve with me. Mm-hmm. You might come and serve with me in my home. That's right. In my home, or you're going to join the ministry where I'm sharing, because in order for you to really absorb what you think you want to get from me, you have to absorb it from me where I'm serving.
Right.
That's as if you get anything else from me without that component, you're not getting the whole picture. So I think leading by example.
I think that's what leads to frustration. Mm-hmm. I think people, to your point, is they're not getting the response that they want from the position that they're at. And so they're constantly striving for more when the question is, are you doing it even when no one is watching?
That's right.
Are you doing it to fulfill something on the inside of you that God's placed, that only that space can be filled with service, with compassion and love for other people? Yeah. And it's making like our young people frustrated. They don't know what they're looking for. Right. But they're looking for something. And I love that when we slow down and realize it's not the more we do, it's the more we look around us, the more we observe the people around us and the things that need to be done. Right. And because we all serve, we serve our families, we serve at home. But we can do things outside the home as well, and find people, whether it's holding the door for someone, going in the department store or the grocery store, or giving smiles, and just all these things. I find when I do that, I am happier than when I've just done something that should be, while somebody else may applaud at. I find that it's more,
do it for yourself.
It gives me more, it does something to the inside of me. It makes me feel like this is really worth living. This is what living's all about, And I think that's when you feel frustration, it's good to pause and go, why am I frustrated? What am I looking for that I'm not getting?
I hope you enjoyed this video. Subscribe today and you'll never miss a new upload.
And don't forget to check out our Better Together shop. Thanks for being a part of our community.